Welcome members to December's full council meeting. I'm going to start as usual. I'm going to pass on to John Kelby here to take us through the notice of summons and attached apologies.
Good afternoon, Mayor, and good afternoon, members. To all members of Derry City and Strabane District Council, you're hereby summoned to attend the monthly meeting of the Council to be held remotely today, Thursday, 16th of December at 4 o'clock. Starting with the roll call, Alderman Bresland.
Here, John.
Alderman Devaney.
Here, John.
Alderman Guy.
Here, John.
Alderman Hussey.
Hi, John. Thanks.
Alderman Carrigan.
Here, John.
Alderman McClintock.
Here, John.
Alderman McCready. Alderman McCready.
He may be running late, John. He should join us shortly.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Ramsey.
Be in shortly, John.
Okay. Alderman Wark. Councillor
Here, John.
Councillor Jason Barr. Councillor Jason Barr. Councillor Raymond Barr.
Here, John.
Councillor John Boyle.
Here.
Councillor Michaela Boyle. Councillor Michaela Boyle. Councillor Sean Carr.
Here, John.
Councillor Cusick.
Here, John.
Councillor Dobbins. Councillor Dobbins. Councillor Donnelly.
And Shaw.
Councillor Doyle.
Here, John.
Councillor Duffy.
And Shaw.
Councillor Edwards.
John.
Councillor Farrell.
Here.
Councillor Ferguson.
Here, John.
Councillor Fleming.
And Shaw, John.
Councillor Gallagher.
And Shaw, John.
Councillor Harkin.
Here, thanks.
Councillor Heaney.
Shaw, John.
Councillor Jackson.
And Shaw, John.
Councillor Kelly.
And Shaw, John.
Councillor Logue.
And Shaw, John.
Councillor McGinley.
And Shaw, John.
Councillor McGowan.
Shaw, John.
Councillor McGuire. Councillor McGuire. Councillor McHugh.
Shaw, John.
Councillor McKeever. Councillor McKeever. Councillor McKinney.
Here, John.
Councillor Mooney. Councillor Mooney.
Here, John.
Councillor O'Neill.
Here, John.
Councillor Riley.
Here, John.
Councillor Sino Barr.
Yeah, John.
Councillor Tierney.
And Shaw, John.
Thank you, members. I'll just run back through a few others to see if they're in yet. Alderman McCready. Alderman Ramsey.
He'll be about half an hour, John.
Councillor Michaela Boyle. Councillor
John, Michaela was having some technical issues, so I'm sure she'll be on as soon as her internet's up and running.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dobbins. Councillor McGuire. Councillor McKeever. Thank you, members, and back to you, Mayor.
Thank you for that, John. Okay, members, moving on to agenda 3. I would like to remind everyone who is in remote attendance that this meeting will be broadcast live via the Council YouTube channel and will be available for viewing in the public and media. The broadcast will be available for repeated viewing at a later date. The broadcast may be terminated, suspended in accordance with the Council protocol. Members and approved speakers are reminded to only have their mics on and cameras while speaking at the meeting, and chat facilities highlighting the request to speak. By participating in this meeting, you're consenting to being filmed to the use of storage and those images broadcasted for training purposes and for purpose of keeping historic records and making those records available to the public. A copy of the privacy notice will be found on the Council website. Okay, members, moving on to Chairperson's business. I have a few things. First of all, members, I want to say many congratulations to everyone in the district and city. Obviously, the city here has been recognised as the most generous city in the UK and top in Northern Ireland. And honestly, I think we should be top in the UK because for myself, for the last 6 months, I really want to thank all yous for your support throughout the past while, and especially towards the Mayor's Charity, also with Voice Search and Rescue, which means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to all the members on here at the minute, but I really do want to thank you all, and thank you for the support through the Mayor's Charity Fun Night. So I do as well, members. And Michaela, your attendance has been recorded. Members, on agenda 2 for myself is Rosemount Resource Centre. And I want to welcome the news that DSC will be coming in the health communities now in January. And I look forward to hearing from that meeting too. And we will pick that up in January. And last but not least, I'm going to bring
Mayor, if I could just interrupt and ask for a proposer and seconder for that.
Okay, John.
Thank you.
Members.
Mayor, John Boyle here. I'm happy to propose that. I know it needs a formal proposal and not much more than that, so I'm happy to propose that.
Derek here, happy to second.
Thank you, John and Derek, for that. And members, lastly but not least, you're all aware now Foyle Arena is obviously running out the boosters I mind yesterday. And obviously a big thanks to all the staff there now in Foyle Arena, and we wish them all the best during the Christmas period. And on that issue, I'm going to pass over to the city solicitor here, Philip, on this. Philip?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Members, that's just to advise that the council has entered into a licence agreement with the trust in order to facilitate the use of the Foyle Arena for the purposes of the booster programme. That's a matter which does require council approval, but we'll bring a paper into governance and strategic planning or health and communities in the new year in order to get retrospective approval for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Philip. Councillor Attorney.
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me in under Chairperson's business to raise this issue. And I want to thank you for accepting the invitation on behalf of the residents of Amelia Court and Christmas Drive, otherwise known as Racecourse Drive, to attend their gardens and see the fantastic Christmas cheer that they are spreading right across the Ballyarnett area. And I've no doubt that there's other communities and streets that are doing this right across our city and district. Christmas Drive in Amelia Court has really captured the imagination and the spirit of Christmas that is alive and engaging lots of residents across our district at a very, very difficult time. Mayor, I know, and speaking on behalf of the residents, how grateful they were to yourself for coming down and spending so much time there, and for using your social media channels to acknowledge and to add to the fantastic charity contributions that they're already trying to raise. There's been fantastic amount of money raised at both of those streets. And on behalf of the residents, thank you, Mayor, for coming down and for adding your voice to their campaigns. Mayor, would it be possible, and I know things will be difficult for you, but if you could consider in some way acknowledging once again the massive effort by the residents there, because, Mayor, I think it's important to point out that these two streets in particular aren't done by any organisation. These are ordinary residents who are just pulling together, showing fantastic community spirit and Christmas, spreading some Christmas cheer across our community. And I think that we as a council should recognise it, Mayor. So if I could maybe ask that you and your office in the new year hopefully plan to make some acknowledgement of the work that they've been involved in down there. And once again, Mayor, on behalf of the residents, thanks very much for coming down and lending your support to those campaigns. Thank you.
Thank you, Fred. Councillor Turner. No, it was absolutely amazing to see Christmas Drive. I think it's what everybody calls it now, and probably everybody recognises that. But it's very good charities there with like the Foyle Hospice and Earth and all the charities resident down there. And from myself, I do wish everybody a happy Christmas down there, because they've truly brought the Christmas festival to the city. Councillor Jackson, apologies, I think I missed you out there, but do you want to come on?
No, Mayor, it was just to endorse the invitation, the DFC for the Health and Communities Committee. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, members. I see no further speakers on Chairperson's business, so I'm going to move on here, members. So, members, moving on, the agenda is 6. Confirmation open minutes of the meeting of Derry City and Strabane District Council held on Thursday, the 25th of November 2021, pages 142. Matters arising.
Chair, do they need proposing? Mayor, sorry, Mayor.
Yeah, you're right. Alderman Devaney, go ahead.
I'll propose them.
I'll second them.
Appreciate it. And Councillor Doyle, matters arising C564/21.
Thank you, Mayor. And can I firstly acknowledge and just say thanks very much to yourself for all the work that you've been doing to support charities in the city and district this last while. And if I don't get a chance towards the end of the meeting, can I wish all of members and staff a very happy Christmas and a prosperous New Year. Mayor, I want to raise an issue that I tried to raise at the last meeting. I do think that it's very important that we discuss the imposition of COVID passports by the Assembly this week and retrospectively by the Northern Ireland Executive. Regardless of the views of respective members on this council, I do think that it would be good to see from a perspective of many of the people there who out in our streets who are very concerned about this, that we have some sort of a debate around this issue. The primary issue, Mayor, why I'm quite concerned about this is because eminent virologist Dr. Chris Smith from Cambridge University has outlined a number of times that between 80 and 90% of COVID transmissions take place in a domestic setting. We've been told by the executive that there are now a number of ways in which we should prove COVID certification in order to enter hospitality venues in particular. Let's be clear, Mayor, the COVID passport does not do anything other than prove that an individual has received vaccinations. It does not in any way verify if an individual at that time does actually carry COVID. And if we are being honest with people, it's important that we're able to tell people that if our primary aim is to stop the spread of the virus, which it is, then it is reasonable, of course, for us to tell people to get their vaccines, to get their boosters. I'm hoping to have mine in the next couple of days. But it's also important to tell people the background as to why these measures are being brought on. When, for example, we look to the South, who have had COVID passports in place for a number of months, and yet their cases are rising. It's also quite important, Mayor, as I'm sure everybody would agree, that we are tempered in our discussion around this, because ultimately there is a virus spreading in the community, especially now when we hear of Omicron. But it is also important from a rights perspective that we discuss this, because there hasn't been any discussion at a local level. And I note that there is genuine concern out there from the hospitality sector as to the impact of these measures. Also, Mayor, I have to say that some concern following the debate in Stormont during the week, where it turns out that staff, for example, in hospitality will not require this COVID certification in order to go to work. And I think that that's something that raises concerns around how we are valuing those staff. I do have a proposal, Mayor. I'm going to put it in the chat box, and I would appreciate it for all members if we could have a reasoned and open and transparent discussion around these issues, because I do think they're very, very important. Thank you, Mayor, for your latitude.
Okay, Councillor Doyle, thank you for this. Just 2 seconds.
Yeah, so Chair, this item that is being discussed by Councillor Doyle is a matter which flows from the deputation that was received from the Trust. As members will be aware, under our current policy in relation to deputations, we do not take proposals directly from deputations. If a member wishes to bring a motion in relation to an item arising from a deputation, then it has to be brought either in the normal way to full council or to the next committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Philip. Members, moving on. Councillor Hargan on C550/21.
Thank you, Mayor. And before I speak to that issue, I just want to offer my condolences to the friends and family and the comrades of Nolene O'Kane, who passed away just recently. I did write to you, but you might not have seen it, that I was requesting the opportunity to just acknowledge her passing in Chair's business. And Nolene was a very well-known education worker at Ardnashee. She was a trade union leader here in Derry and across the north for 30 years, and her absence will be felt enormously by many people. And I just wanted to have the opportunity to pay tribute to her here at the council. And I think that the council, working with the trades union, Trades Council, can think of ways to properly pay tribute to Nolene during the Workers' Rights and Social Justice Week, along with her Unison comrades. But her loss will be very much felt at Ardnashee, very much felt amongst all her friends, her extended family, and among the trade union movement right across Ireland, where she played such a enormous and important role. People like Nolene make the world a better place, and it's good, you know, that she is on the side, very much so. She was and will continue to be on the side of ordinary people. So thank you, Mayor, for letting me do that. On the issue C550/21, of course, there is discussion about an anti-poverty strategy that the council's contributing to, and rightly so. And it's been far too long for the executive to develop an anti-poverty strategy. But right now we are, many people, as we all know, are thrust into a great degree of financial uncertainty. The rise in energy costs have meant that a lot of people are now not in the position of choosing between heat and eat. They're now in a situation where they're not going to be able to do either. And as everybody knows, that cut the universal credit, a whole host of rising prices and costs, the poverty pay that so many people face, means that this Christmas in particular and this winter is going to be extremely challenging. And I was part of organising a hardship crisis protest at Stormont this week, and I'm glad to say it was supported by trade unions, anti-poverty campaigners, student campaigners as well. And that protest has demanded that Stormont not go in recess until it is met to discuss actions that can be taken to protect people right now, before we have tragic situations develop because of people's inability to keep the heat on, which is a real possibility because of the out of control energy costs. This can't be put on the long finger. Task force will not pay the bills for anybody right now. So I'm not putting forward a motion, Mayor. I think I'm stating the obvious by saying that a lot of people in our district and across the north are struggling and will struggle throughout Christmas and through the holiday period. That it is, you know, I don't want to use language too strong, but I think it's disgraceful that the Stormont Assembly will shut down before it will discuss actions that can be taken to protect people, like extending and expanding the winter fuel payment scheme. And there's a whole host of measures that can be taken. But I am going to urge parties here who have representatives in Stormont to ask their MLAs to sign on to Jerry Carroll's emergency motion that's calling for if 30 MLAs sign the motion, there can be a sitting of the Assembly, and then they can discuss these measures before Christmas. And from what I'm told, there's already some parties that are beginning to plan to show an interest in doing that. I think it would send a message out that the Assembly isn't going to turn its back on ordinary people as they struggle over the coming months with the range of problems that we all know exist. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hargan. And also on the issue, I know I apologise, I didn't see the email, but obviously any time of the year, it's very sad losing a loved one, and our thoughts and prayers are with the family during this period. Alderman McClintock.
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me latitude to come in on this. Just to follow up on the remarks by Councillor Harkin, I was privileged to call Nolene a friend of many years standing, particularly when I worked in Ardnashee. Her loss came as a great shock to all of us after her short illness. She was a very valued member of staff in Ardnashee. She had the most lovely, caring nature, and many young people in Ardnashee benefited from the work that she did with them there as a classroom assistant. She was also an ardent trade unionist. The last time I met her actually was in the Guildhall at an educational meeting in the main hall, and we renewed our friendship again then. When I heard the sad news this week, I did phone her best friend to offer my condolences, and I just want to record them today that her loss is very sorely felt, and offer my deepest condolences to her partner, her family, and to her friends. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Fred Alderman McClintock. Okay, members, moving on to Councillor O'Neill on C586/21.
Thanks, Mayor. It's just on the issue of the young workers' pay, and we've been contacted this week just by a number of young workers who were told weeks ago that Boxing Day, they would be given Boxing Day as a holiday in the retail sector, but they're now feeling very frustrated and upset at a U-turn from management that the retail centre is now going to open on Boxing Day, and I suppose we feel it's totally unfair because just recently this council did back a motion calling on employers to make sure all retail workers get a proper holiday over the festive period. And I suppose rather than being driven by greed, the big retailers really should be leading by example and do something good for their staff this Christmas, given the year we've had, so that retail workers can enjoy a real holiday over Christmas. Given if you have to be up for 5 or 6 in the morning on Boxing Day, you don't really get to properly relax on Christmas Day. And the retail workers are working long hours and lead up to Christmas. And as discussed before, like surveys have shown that retail workers are frustrated at the lack of quality time over Christmas. So I just want to commend the retail workers who are speaking out on this and raising this issue. And I have been informed that some retailers have decided to remain closed to U-turn on their U-turn because of this. And I just want council, I feel as council, we just need to commit our support to retail workers as we had done in the last few months with that motion, and their demand for retailers to reverse the decision to open on Boxing Day. So again, no motion, Mayor, is just to give our support to retail workers. Thanks.
Thank you, Fred, Councillor Neil. And obviously, retail workers throughout the whole pandemic have been a front force there, and as we all in council here, we think very highly of. Apologies, Alderman Hussey. you want to come on now?
Thank you, Mayor. My item is 557 on page 20, Christmas 2021. And as a couple of others have done, I take this opportunity to extend season's greetings to everyone, both in the chamber and those who decide that it's enjoyable to watch council meetings. That aside, within that particular item 557, I had mentioned the potential for the parade itinerary to be extended to smaller settlements. You yourself, Mayor, stated it could be considered for future years. I know we're not through the Christmas programme, and congratulations to our staff who have put together a tremendous programme and everything else. But I was just wondering when planning for next year, 2022, would commence, if it hasn't already done so, given the nature and size of events that we take forward, that when it does, if it hasn't already done so, that members are kept up to speed on any proposal that would evolve from staff considerations going forward. I think it's important that we keep members and indeed the community on board as we plan for the future. And the nature of it is that forward planning for big festivals like this is extremely important. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Fred Alderman Hussein. I'm going to bring in Stephen Gillespie on that one. But to be honest, I really want to thank council officers and staff for the great Christmas parades, festivals, and from the villages, the towns around the district, absolutely look amazing. And especially on the parades, very difficult. We couldn't have the proper Christmas tree light on, but the parades were a total success here in the city and also Sturban, but well done. But Stephen, could you comment on this?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I mean, as Alderman Halsey says, planning begins fairly quickly after you've finished the event. So we're already looking at plans. There'll be an ask into rates in terms of the festivals and events that will be considered by members. And then in particular for Christmas, we always bring papers through. Well, for all events, we bring them in well in advance. So a paper will be brought probably in around June time, outlining the initial Christmas festivals, etc., based on the budget that we have. But the first discussions will obviously be around the rates, so that's ongoing now.
Appreciate it, Mayor. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Alderman Hussey. Okay, members, moving on to Agenda 8, adoption of the minutes of the following committees. Monthly Governance Strategy Planning Committee held on Tuesday the 30th of November 2021, pages 43 to 78.
I propose that.
I'll second them, Alderman Devaney.
For accuracy, Alderman Bresson proposed and seconded by Alderman Devaney. Okay, members, matters arising. Councillor Gallagher.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting us in. That's GSP 219-221. Mayor, I was just regarding some of the changes to standing order that was recommended by a committee. And Mayor, I would just like to say that this council over the past number of years has been striving to be inclusive as possible for all members to be in the decision-making process. And we've seen a number of challenges that have seen developments and have seen progress, and have seen that all can participate in council decisions. And I'm just looking at this recommendation, I'm afraid I see it as a step back, Mayor, and I think that we could be dealing with in other ways. And this seems to be getting driven through because it's been a recommendation by the department, but it's only a recommendation, and what other councils do, we have been to the forefront of driving equality, and I think we need to keep that going. And Mayor, I would like to put it to the floor that and recommend that any decision that requires a call-in, that council can deal with that call-in with full council at a special meeting, But Mayor, it's not like we get call-ins twice a week, twice a month. And I think that if we get into a recommendation of chairs and deputy chairs, then I think that we're going down the wrong road, and it's becoming decision making by a few rather than by all. So, Mayor, I would like to ask this. I would like to ask this meeting here not to recommend what's in the minutes, but to propose that the decision making is made by full council at a special meeting. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Gallagher, I see you have a second there. Councillor Donnelly, could you put that up in the chat box, please? As we wait for Councillor Gallagher to get that on the chat box, Councillor Lee, do you want to come on now?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I was going to second Councillor Gallagher's proposal as well. I just feel it's important to, we've got a really good and diverse council here, made up of big parties and small parties and independents as well. And I think it's a very good working democracy. And I think anything that challenges that democracy, that, that has the potential to exclude independents and smaller parties, I think is not good. It's not good practice, and I don't think there's a problem here that needs to be resolved. That I think this is coming on a recommendation from a report, but I think in our council practice, I don't feel that there is an issue with regards to call-ins and the standing orders of them. That we need to exclude smaller parties and independents. So I think, as I said, I think the diversity of our council is something that we should really embrace and continue to strengthen, rather than try to condense, really. So I just want to support Councillor Gallagher's proposal. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Neil. I'm just going to bring in the city solicitor on this one.
Yeah, members, that appears to be a much more wide-ranging amendment than the one that was initially being discussed in relation to it, and that this was the amendment and proposal that was brought before Governance and Strategic Planning was to deal with call-ins of committee decisions. And members will recall that the proposal was that the ad hoc committee would act as an initial filter mechanism in relation to the matter, but ultimately with the decision being referred back to the relevant committee if there is any for further reconsideration of the matter, and obviously then except in those rare occasions where committee decisions are being taken under delegated authority, which would be the planning committee, for example, in respect of applications, then in due course those recommendations would be coming before the full council by way of normal course anyway, to a normal meeting of council. So this would appear to encompass all call-ins and represent quite a wide-ranging amendment to our standing orders.
Alderman Devaney.
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me in. And I was just going to ask about the legality of it and around it, and around that question, but I do know that call-ins are referred back to committee, and Philip has just answered my questions, Mayor. But thanks.
Councillor Doyle.
Thanks, Mayor. And I'm grateful to Paul for bringing this on, because it was something that I raised at GSP, because I do genuinely think that what we're seeking to, it is my respectful opinion that what we're actually doing is, again, limiting the input of all elected members, which is what, from my non-legal mind, is exactly what the court told us was the problem with regard to standing orders arising from this. And what it comes down to is all the other speakers have said is, we do have a fairly good working relationship in terms of all of these things, but there is always going to be such in my case for now that there will only ever be one member who can't take up certain positions at a given time because of our strength of numbers, and that this does demonstrate to me a move away from that unity of purpose, I suppose. Just to put on the record that it's I generally don't think that it is adhering to the spirit of the judgment on which has precipitated the proposed changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Doyle. Councillor Donnelly.
Chair, could I make an amendment to this proposal here, which could sort it out? If we just say that future call-ins that were to be dealt with by ad hoc are now dealt with by a special council. Could we have advice on that? Would that work?
I'll just pass you on the city solicitor here.
Chair, the proposal which is on the floor here at the moment is a proposal in relation to a recommendation from committee. That the proposed amendment would in fact not. It simply wouldn't flow from what would then exist in our standing orders. Because if this call-in comes in, then there won't be any ad hoc committee. So there would be nothing in our standing orders for this to be a future call-in from. Simply just wouldn't work.
Thank you for that. So the amendment wouldn't work. Councillor Hargan.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks,
just
Mayor.
Can we record Alderman McCready's attendance?
Thanks, Mayor.
Yeah, sorry, Councillor Hargan.
Yeah, thank you. Look, in agreement with previous speakers who have raised this, I think that there is no problem, and I think we've created a problem now because we're having a discussion, and there's clearly an issue for this, for independents, for smaller parties around this, and I went and read the discussion, and I think some of the proposals that were being put forward didn't allay people's fears about how this could potentially sideline certain points of view. So it seems to me, if none of these, if the legal opinion is that we can't accept Councillor Gallagher's original motion, and I'm not sure that's been decisively said yet, couldn't accept Gary's amendment. Can we just reject the recommendation from the committee and leave our standing orders as is? We don't need to change our standing orders. I don't see the reason to do it. Call-ins are not something that happen constantly. In fact, they very rarely happen. And by creating this confusion now and I suppose suspicion, we've actually created a problem where there wasn't any, because I don't believe that call-ins have taken up a lot of time in this council.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councillor Hargan. Members, we have a proposal on the floor here. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to take it to a vote. I'm going to pass over to John Kelby for a recorded vote, please.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and members. Alderman Breslin.
Again. Sorry, can we be clear on what we're voting for?
You're voting for, members, what is on the screen. Hopefully members can see that, can they?
Yeah, that's fine. I thought it was ruled out.
Can we be clear on the legal opinion, because I also thought it was ruled out? Please and thank you.
Members, I'm going to pass you on the fault, but I think it's clear that Councillor Gallagher's running the amendment by Councillor Donnelly's, does it? Bob?
Yeah, Chair, that's exactly right. The proposal is there. It's a wide-ranging proposal, but it's there. It's on the screen. It's there for members.
Thank you for that. Okay, John, do you want to take us through?
Thank you, members. Alderman Breslin.
Against.
Alderman Devaney.
Against.
Alderman Guy.
Against.
Alderman Hussey.
Against.
Alderman Carrigan.
Against.
Alderman McClintock.
Against.
Checking if Alderman McCready is on the call.
Against, John.
Yes, thank you. Alderman Ramsey.
He's trying to get on.
Against.
John. Oh, sorry.
Against.
Thank you, Alderman Ramsey. Alderman Wark.
Against.
Councillor Jason Barr.
Against.
Councillor Raymond Barr.
For.
Councillor John Boyle.
Against.
Councillor Michaela Boyle.
Against.
Councillor Carr.
For.
Councillor Cusick.
Against.
Councillor Donnelly.
For.
Councillor Doyle.
For.
Councillor Duffy.
Against.
Councillor Edwards.
Against.
Councillor Farrell.
Against.
Councillor Ferguson.
For.
Councillor Fleming.
Against, John.
Councillor Gallagher.
For.
Councillor Harkin.
For.
Councillor Heaney.
Against.
Councillor Jackson.
Against.
Councillor Kelly.
Against.
Councillor Logue.
Against.
Councillor McGinley.
Against, John.
Councillor McGowan.
Against, John.
Councillor McHugh.
John.
Councillor McKinney.
For, John. For.
Councillor Mooney.
Against, John.
Councillor O'Neill.
For.
Councillor Riley.
Against.
Councillor Stenoy Barr.
Against, John.
Councillor Tierney.
Against, John.
Thank you, members. Mayor, I've recorded 28 against and 9 for, so the proposal falls.
Thank you for that, John. So the proposal from Councillor Gallagher falls. Okay, members, moving on. Councillor Hargan on GS 211/21. I'm going to take us to the last one, members.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And there's two issues to this. The first one, they're both on the same foil port strike issue. The first one is I'm glad to see that there's been an end now to the foil port dock workers strike, and I want to commend workers at Burke Shipping Services and also at Foyle Port in winning their contract demands. And as everybody knows, going on strike is never an easy decision. People lose pay and they face sometimes demonization by those who are out to put them down. And that certainly occurred in this strike. They very much appreciated that a number of councillors visited the picket line and stood in solidarity with them. They very much appreciated the public support that the council gave the strike through its vote at the committee meeting, and they were they were following all that very closely. I think, as we know, we have discussed a lot about the contribution that shirt factory workers have made to this city over more than a decade, over 100 years, and it's just as true with dock workers. So I think I wanted to publicly commend the dock workers for their unity and their bravery in standing themselves, and also their trade union Unite for representing them so well. And I think that we should, that this also brought attention for a lot of people in the city that we still have dock workers, that there's a very vibrant port. And so I think we should give recognition to that. And so I hope that in next year's Workers' Rights and Social Justice Week, we can have a special event that pays tribute to today's dock workers and their contribution to the city, but also the generations of dock workers that have that are part of many families, and I'm sure in this council that's true. That the legacy of their contribution, which is crucial. And they weren't just dockers; they were involved in all sorts of things. They were the backbone of many things, including the civil rights movement. You know, some of the workers there now, it was their fathers and grandfathers that worked at docks many years ago. So that's just one part of it. And if other councillors or aldermen want to speak to that, they'll be more than welcome. The second one is something I really wish I wasn't raising, but I feel it's absolutely necessary. If people read the discussion, you can see that I raised this issue at the committee meeting, and Alderman McCready spoke at length and gave his opinion on the matter. Now, Alderman McCready, as we know, is a paid member of the Port Commission. That's something I think a number of councillors do. And in that discussion, the legal advice, the council legal advice was for the alderman not to participate because of a conflict of interest. And this is a very, very serious matter. As the discussion went on, Alderman McCready did say that he receives almost £9,000 for that role. Now, as I heard from some dock workers, that's a wage for some dock workers. So it's not a small amount of money by any means. It's certainly not in our city and district. So the issue here is, I think everybody takes the issue of conflict of interest very, very seriously. And I know the council officers take it very seriously. And they constantly will say, err on the side of caution if you've got a conflict of interest, to the point where sometimes people are leaving meetings when there's no financial conflict of interest at all, or there's a very distant one. If somebody's partner works somewhere and there might be a workers' campaign that leads to a wage increase, and people have left discussions, left meetings as a result of this. And I think that is taking it seriously. I think that this sets a precedent, that it rips all that apart, because we can't have a situation where there's clearly a financial issue involved, and
Councillor Harkin, can you bring your remarks to a close, please?
I'll bring them to a close now, and somebody just decides that they're going to participate as if that doesn't matter, because I could no longer recommend to someone that they leave a meeting where there is no clear financial involvement and so on. And I think that this is something we have to look at. Now, I've spoke to Philip, and the council can't take any action in this. This has to go to the ombudsman. But I feel that this is not about an individual issue. I think that this would be an issue if I did it. I think it would be an issue if someone in another party did it. And I don't think that this. I think we have to discuss this. I don't think that this can stand. I think that, in my opinion, the alderman did repeat management's point of view, which I found very unhelpful, and made a lot of unhelpful remarks about trade unions and so on. And I do think that issue of, if you're a paid employee of the Foyle Port, that shouldn't have been. We can't tolerate this. Otherwise, we have to change the way that the council functions and the issue of conflict of interest. So if it would be useful for council legal to give an opinion on this, so people don't just take it from me. But I thought we needed to discuss this today. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Harkin. I'm just going to pass you over to the city solicitor.
Yeah, Mayor, just to reiterate the point that I always make in relation to these matters, that conflicts of interest are ultimately a matter for the individual member to determine, but the advice is to err on the side of caution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Hargan. Councillor Jackson? Is this on the same issue, is it?
Yes, it is. It is.
That's okay. I'll take no more speakers after this, members.
Mayor, just before I start, I will declare an interest as a commissioner, but I won't be silenced by Councillor Harkin. And as a commissioner, I'm fully aware that there's a vibrant port, and it didn't take industrial action to remind me that and value the contribution of the workforce within Foyle Port. And I'm delighted that there's been a resolution to the industrial action. And I just want to put on record that I fully support the workers, and along with fellow commissioners had that we had supported the demands that were put forward by the union to ensure that there was a fair wage increase for our workers. But Mayor, I think it's important to put a wee bit of context and some of the challenges, because I know Councillor Harkin had indicated that there's a vibrant port, and we very much hope that that will continue. But one of the things that we need to highlight is some of the challenges that are facing the port, and I'm delighted that the industrial action has been resolved, not only because the workers deserve a fair increase, but I think that it's very important that we maintain a very good working relationship with the trade unions as well, because there's challenges, not least the decarbonisation that needs to take place within the port activity. It's a very carbon intensive industry.
Councillor Jackson, bring your remarks to a close, please.
And I believe that the support for our dockers and our Foyle Port employees and a just transition to a decarbonisation and a new way of working. I think it's essential that we have a good relationship with the workers and the union and the management team. So I'm delighted that there's a resolution, and I look forward to working with the union going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Councillor Dobbins, it's been noted your attendance. Thank you. Okay, members, moving on. Monthly planning held on Wednesday, the 1st of December 2021, pages 79 to pages 90. For accuracy, could I have a proposer and seconder, please?
I propose it, Chairman.
I'll second it, Mayor.
Oh, who was the proposer? Sorry.
Breastland.
Thank you, Alderman President, and seconded by
Councillor McKinney.
Thank you. Councillor McKinney, you're not going to come on matters.
I am indeed, Mayor. Thank you very much. I'd just like to say on behalf of the Planning Committee, and I'm sure members of the Chamber here as well, can I offer our condolences to the head of planning, Ms. Fox, on the loss of a family member last week. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and I think that's echoed throughout all the members here and myself as well. Thank you for that, Councillor McKinney. Councillor O'Neill on P239/21.
This is from the reconvene planning minutes, Chair. So I'm not sure, have we, are we, does that, does the endorsement of the minutes include the reconvene planning minutes as well?
No, Councillor O'Neill, that's the next one.
All right, I'll hold off then.
Okay. Okay, moving on, members. The reconvene planning meeting held on Thursday, December 2021, pages 91/98. For accuracy, could I have a proposer and seconder?
I propose it, Councillor Breastland.
Thank you, Alderman Breastland. Seconder, please.
John Boyle.
And Councillor Boyle. Okay, members, matters arising. Councillor O'Neill on P239/21.
Yeah, so this is with the review of the planning policy with the policy on oil and gas exploration, or petroleum licensing policy option, sorry. And I just wanted to note that it's actually really good that to see that Minister Lyons has deferred the bringing forward for consideration the petroleum licensing policy options until the new year. And I just want to take this opportunity to commend the excellent campaign by activists in Fermanagh, including Lamp Fermanagh, and also Friends of the Earth here, who did an excellent job in raising this issue, because the policy decisions here has the potential to put the clean air, water, health and agriculture at risk, and it locks us onto a fossil fuel infrastructure for generations, and it could also delay our essential transition to renewable energy. And I think it's good that the Minister has deferred these policy options and to the new year, and I think it needs to be deferred until a full investigation is done to establish that the policy options being presented to the ministers have not been influenced by industry, given that the Department for Economy has failed to suspend its statutory duty to promote gas. And there were serious concerns raised by the University of Exeter report on energy governance in the North, and the recommendations from that report haven't been implemented. And this would adversely and inappropriately influence the petroleum licensing policy options being brought to the executive. So I want to commend the campaigners, and I just want to reiterate that we need to keep all remaining fossil fuels on the ground, because our council is committed to effective action on climate crisis, and I think it's just important to note that and keep updated on the progress of this. Chair, thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor O'Neill. Just looking at P239/21, it's I think you were talking under P248/21, but that's been noted, Councillor O'Neill. Okay, members, I see no further speakers on the convened meeting on the Planning Committee held on Thursday the 2nd. So moving on to monthly Business Culture Committee held on Tuesday the 7th December 2021, pages 99 to /114. For accuracy, could I have a proposer, please?
So proposed, Alderman Devaney.
Alderman Devaney proposed. Could I have a seconder?
Ryan McCready.
Alderman McCready seconded. Matters arising, members? And no matters arising. Members, moving on to the monthly E&R Committee held on Wednesday the 8th of December 2021, pages 115 to /132.
So proposed, Chair, for accuracy.
Thank you, Alderman Devaney, and a seconder, please.
Brian Tierney.
Councillor Tierney, second that.
Chair,
Matters arising.
Accuracy.
Apologies, go ahead, Derek.
I had a point in accuracy, ER 347,
yeah,
19.
Yeah.
That's the presentation from road service and queries to road service or comments from road service. It refers, this also applies, by the way, to Alderman Kerrigan's comments, the 20 mph speed limit at schools. The minute records that I expressed disappointment at schools located in Castlederg. That is incorrect. I expressed concern at schools located in the Derg area, and there were 3 sites, namely Kiln, Castlederg and Victoria Bridge, not just Castlederg. For accuracy, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Fred. Alderman Halsey, that's been noted. Sorry, just moving back. Councillor McHugh, do you want an under accuracy? Or is it matters arising?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, it's under accuracy.
Yeah, go ahead.
Box there. Just give me a second here. ER 354/21. Alderman Hussey referred to his request for officers to engage with the above group. I don't actually recall exactly what Alderman Hussey said, but I'm pretty sure it couldn't have been that, because the request for officers to engage with the above group actually came from myself, from a previous E&R committee through a proposal. Maybe Alderman Hussey could clarify that.
If I may, Mayor, the reference to the group was with regard to the Castlederg Pauper's Grave site, as opposed to the Scarborough Hearn, but it was to bring all those local historical society investigations together.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Councillor McHugh is totally correct, yes.
Thank you for clarifying that. Councillor O'Neill, is this under accuracy or matters arising?
Matters arising, Chair.
Just wait out on that one. And finally, last one, Councillor Riley on accuracy.
Yeah, it's a very simple one, Chair. Just put in the chat box. Page 120 should be CAW, C-A-W, not COR, C-O-R-R. Thanks.
Thank you for that. That's been noted. Okay, members, could I have a proposal on that again? It was Alderman Devaney proposed it.
I'm happy to go again.
And Councillor Turney second that.
Yep.
Members, just reminder too, make sure your mic's off in the background. Okay, members, matters arising. Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just wanted to, this is on the rights of nature, and just since the ENR meeting, I just want to mark that Donegal County Council on Monday there have become the first local authority in the south now to recognise the rights of nature, which is excellent. And I want to commend Donegal County Council and the campaigners for this momentous occasion, and they have now joined ourselves, Fermanagh and Omagh District Council and Uri Morning Down Council in this journey of embedding rights of nature and the council policy and practice. And I do think it's significant locally that the Northwest in particular is leading on this movement in Europe. And I look forward to further progress on this in the new year. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Councillor O'Neill. Okay, members, I see no further matters arising through the ENR.
Chair, I have one on ER 362 is stroke 21 as well.
Yeah, go ahead. Apologies.
No, you're grand. Again, it's just since the last ENR meeting, there's been a report that's come out. It's related to biodiversity, and the North, unfortunately, is the 12th worst region in the world for biodiversity loss. And figures have just been released about the 7 million tonnes of raw sewage a year discharged into our rivers and waterways. And, I think this is really alarming. And these pollution figures tell us that the biodiversity situation here is likely to worsen. And then a separate report, which is very connected, published recently, has told us that none of our waterways are considered to be in good health under the Water Framework Directive. And this is unfortunately a considerable decline from previous assessments. And this is alarming locally and really significant because our river systems here are really integral and important for our community's health and well-being and the health and well-being of our ecosystems. The River Faughan in particular, it supplies 60% of the city's drinking water and has many special European protections, but it now does not even classify as in good health under the Water Framework Directive. And I just, I did want to make a proposal, given the seriousness of this, to invite officials from DFI with regards to the 7 million tonnes of raw sewage a year discharged into our rivers and waterways, and to DAERA also with regards to the decline in water quality, to present just to the relevant committee to explain the causes and associated actions on these problems. I just think it's significant figures that have been published, and I myself am very alarmed by it. So do you want me to put that proposal onto the chat box, Mayor?
Councillor O'Neill, we're happy enough with that. Their full members agree. So does, and I'm sure Karen Phelps on the line here, she would gladly pick that up and bring it on the committee.
That's excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry for intervening. I do have no problem with the proposal, Mayor, but I do believe if we're bringing DFI in, I think we should bring Northern Ireland Water in as well, because the two will complement one another. Northern Ireland Water will give us an update on the water quality in the Faughan. I think it'll be important that we catch the two of them with the one.
Yeah, totally agree, Alderman Devaney. Karen Phelps is on the line there. I think if Karen brings paper in the ENR and more or less chat the committee on what way we'll take that forward, I'm sure you can discuss that next ENR. Karen, would you be happy enough with that?
Yep, Chair, happy with that. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Karen. Thank you, Councillor O'Neill and Alderman Devaney. Okay, members, moving on to the monthly health.
Chair, Mayor,
Sorry,
it's
Councillor
Patricia
Luke.
here.
Councillor Luke, I'm so sorry.
Councillor
No,
McHugh as well.
I am flying here tonight. I'm trying to get over to a fundraiser. We find out something, folks.
Right, no problem. I'll be very brief then.
Councillor Luke, go ahead.
Well, I suppose it was under accuracy. It was just to record my attendance at that meeting, but also it was my understanding that members wanted to be furnished with the statistics and ISRA statistics regarding the condition of the roads and footpaths in the neighbourhood renewal areas before they made a recommendation to send a letter. However, I do note that the recommendation is already there to send the letter. So, and I hope that the members of the NR were furnished with the statistics. So that's all, Mayor. Thank you.
Yeah, Chair, if I maybe come in there just to
Yeah,
confirm
go ahead.
that we did send that the day following the committee chair to all the members. So thank you.
Chair, on the same issue.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. It's Derek here. One of the things I noticed about the report, and I thank Councillor Lowe for supplying that report, it only applies to neighbourhood renewal areas. And I can't find the figures for the rest of our council EAs, which are outside of the NRA areas. Could those figures be sourced and given to us? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Sure, Karen will pick that up.
Yep, Chair will look into that issue and see if that's something we can provide to members. I don't have the information in front of me, but we'll certainly look into it.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Apologies on that one, Councillor Logue. Councillor McHugh on ER 354/21 on matters arising.
Yeah, very briefly, Mayor, the same issue as raised under accuracy. Just regarding that issue, I was actually contacted today by a member of that group. They were just inquiring where it sits because they hadn't had any contact as of yet. Now, obviously, I don't expect any movement prior to Christmas now, but what I would like to see is maybe an officer from ENR just maybe touch base with them. I've already supplied the contact number for the person involved just to let them know that they will be picking it up and getting in touch to arrange a meeting in the new year, if that could be facilitated. Thank you.
Through you, Chair, happy to pick that up, and certainly we've discussed it as officers and there are plans to meet with the group in the new year. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Karen, as well, for your help on that one. So, members, that concludes the ENR. So, members, moving on to monthly Health and Communities Committee held on Thursday, 9th of December 2021, pages 113. Who's that? Alderman Hussey. Go ahead, Alderman Hussey.
Very quick point of order. If we adopt the accuracy of these minutes, and it's a question, I suppose, for Philip, are we thereby endorsing and accepting any proposals contained within the minutes?
Okay, I'll pass the fault here, Alderman Hussey. Fault?
Yeah, as usual, Alderman Hussey there with a very nuanced legal point, but I suppose I'll just say that the custom and practice in this council is that we deal with those matters under matters arising rather than under the adoption of the accuracy of the minutes.
Custom and practice is that it can be dealt with then under matters arising, and that until it is dealt with in that fashion, any proposal within that is not accepted. I take that from the legal officer and thank him for that. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Alderman Hussey. Okay, members, monthly Health and Communities Committee held on Thursday, 9th of December 2021, pages 133 to 164 for accuracy. Could I have a proposer, please?
So proposed, Alderman Devaney.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Who was that? Is that Rachel? Councillor Ferguson?
Yeah.
Second?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, members, matters arising. Councillor Kerrigan, HC 289/21.
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor.
Just touching again, Chair, on the Good Relations report there in regards to the Councillor Young Loyalist and the incident there that was investigated. Chair, or Mayor, I do have difficulties there. We've had two investigations. I'm just trying to get clarification on a few points. We've had two investigations, two recommendations, and we are still seem to be going against the legal advice from the Health and Communities Committee, as it was. And according to that paragraph 3.9, which is in the Health and Community minutes, or in the agenda, sorry, it was stated there would be no grounds upon which it would be possible to withhold funding on this occasion, was the legal advice that was given. And I'm just clarifying, Chair, would that be still the position of the legal services, or, you know, would their opinion have altered any with the decision of the committee on that occasion? I'm just wondering as also, Chair, or Mayor, sorry, have we got a figure as to how much funding is seeking to be withheld from that committee decision? And, you know, how much are they seeking to withhold? When is this going to be decided upon? And when will funding be released to the group? I'm minded, Mayor, that we have, it is now over 5 months since the events took place, over the 3 days, over the Friday, the Saturday and the Monday. And the group is now without funding. The group has had to put this money out in advance. And there's not many groups will take a hit of up to £5,000 and then just sit and wait whatever time council decides to pay it out to them. Usually I'm told that this would have been quite quick to be paid out. And again, now we're sitting 5 months. Is that something that will be paid out after tonight? Or is this something then that has to be brought back to the next Health and Communities Committee meeting in regards to tell us or put the proposal forward as to how much is to be withheld? So I'm seeking clarification on that. And then will it not be ratified then to the full council at the end of January? In which case we're chatting in excess of 6 months before the group will be in a position to get funding. You know, so I'm trying to get points clarified there because there is concerns there. And further issue there, Chair or Mayor, I'm just looking clarification on, is this issue solely in relation to the good relations money? Or is this because that's £5,000 which has been withheld? There's an element of it was good relations, but there's an element of it as alternatives to bonfires. And members have referenced the good relations in comments at previous meetings. And I'm clarifying, if we're not touching on the alternative to bonfire funding, why was that not already issued to the band? You know, so I'm just trying to get clarification on these couple of points, Mayor. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred. Alderman Kerrigan. I'm going to bring Alderman Hussey the same issue, and after that, I'll bring in Karen. So, Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Mayor, and concur with the remarks from Alderman Kerrigan there. I have a quandary with regard to part one of the proposal that has come from that committee. And it's this, that particularly the portion of funding that was identified for this act. Nobody has identified what we mean by this act, because if it is the person who caused the difficulties on the evening, that particular act was not booked by the organisers. No financial money was to be paid to that particular act. And I also understand, and I've actually seen the invoices from the acts that did appear, and nowhere is there any apportionment of funding to that particular person who took it upon themselves to take to the stage. There are other issues. So I'm wondering, you know, how much funding is being suggested as being withheld, because there's none allocated to that so-called act. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Fred. Alderman Kerrigan and Alderman Hussey. I'm going to bring Karen in here. Karen.
Yes, Mayor, I think there were two aspects of the query. One was for legal clarification in relation to the legal advice given, so I'll pass that to Philip. The second is in relation to the agreement of committee in respect of the proposal to withhold a proportion of funding. There was no recommendation as to what that proportion was, and this was a recommendation of members that was approved by committee. We note the comments that have been made in relation to the payments or non-payments of various performers within that, but officers have not at this point prepared a recommendation in relation to any proportion, and I'd seek members' I suppose comments in respect of that.
I see Councillor McHugh looking to come on the same issue here before I bring in Philip on the legal aspect of it. Councillor McHugh?
All right, Mayor. Mayor, my recollection of the meeting, I'm not a member of that committee, so I couldn't make any proposal. But I believe Councillor Duffy mentioned the funding figure of £1,500. Now, I stand corrected in that. And just in relation to Councillor or Alderman Hussey's comments there, it said within the report itself, and this came from the organisers, that that particular act on the night was actually playing along with the father of the main act, and that the organisers had to actually pull the plug on the ban. So, I mean, I presume that that's probably where the penalty probably applies to that particular act. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And I'm going to pass on to the City Solicitor, Philip.
Members, just to say that the legal advice was set out in the report and is recorded in the minutes. Thank you.
Mayor, I'm happy to second the proposal put forward by Alderman Hussey in the chat box.
So proposed.
Okay, members, we'll just wait to get that up on the screen. There's a proposal from Alderman Hosty and seconded by Councillor Corrigan. Do you want to go ahead, Councillor Duffy?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. No, I just want to come in to confirm what Councillor McHugh was saying in relation to it. Councillor McHugh spoke to the item within the committee. I made the proposal as a member of the committee, and while speaking to it, I did mention the full amount, which I believe was fair and proportionate in terms of the activities that took place. I do recognise the legal opinion that was given by Philip at the committee. But our view was that in terms of our zero tolerance policy, in terms of sectarianism, we believe that there had to be some sanction coming out of this to deal with it adequately. So that was the proposal as it stood. So thank you. We are still of the belief of the opinion that we had on the night. Thank you.
Alderman Devaney.
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me in. And first of all, I want to say we will be supporting this proposal here moving forward. Going back to the full discussion and around what happened here. And I just want to go back to the conversation, Mayor, that took place on the evening from Councillor McHugh. He talked greatly about the event and the negative parts of the event. He also strayed into the Orange Order being a very sectarian organisation. And you know, he talked about the song or something about in their knees and Fenian blood, and that the Orange Order was a sectarian organisation. Mr. Mayor, you know, I have said I'm a proud member of it, and I would totally say that is totally wrong. That the Orange Order is a very religious organisation. And you know, I have went away and done a bit of homework on other organisations that Protestants can't join, the likes of the AOH. And you know, the Knights of St. Columbus. And when I look at some of the oaths that they take in the AOH, I will think it no sin to kill and massacre a Protestant when an opportunity serves. And when I go in and look at the oath that is taken in the Knights of Columbus, I do further promise and declare that they will then have the opportunity presents wage a relentless war against all heretics, Protestants, and I'm directed to do so. And it goes on and says, I will burn and hang and waste and boil them, flay them and strangle them
Okay,
and
thank
bury
you,
them
Alderman
alive.
Devaney.
I want to go back, Chair, and just say that was the flavour of the meeting that took place. And I know you weren't there, Mayor, but I just want to go back and just reiterate that the Orange Order is not a sectarian organisation. And Mr. McHugh, or Councillor McHugh, as I should call him, I do apologise for not calling him Councillor, maybe look at some other organisations which I would say has very, very sectarian oaths built into them. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Devaney. Councillor Tierney.
Chair, thank you for allowing me in. And I suppose from the outset, I would like to point out as someone who was at the meeting and who was involved in this discussion, that the last member said that was his remarks reflected the tone of the debate. I don't think that's correct. I don't think it's accurate at all. Councillor McHugh did speak about the Orange Order, but there was no mention in my recollection of the AOH or anyone else. And I don't think anyone went down the line that Alderman Devaney has just regrettably taken us down there now. Chair, I think we're also, or sorry, Mayor, I think we're also, and people have been doing this on a number of occasions where this report has come up. And I think we're splitting hairs around some of the terminology in the recommendation. And I know it says act, and Alderman Hussey and others have been trying to point out that the person who used a sectarian language at this event wasn't a paid act. And if you look at the report, I commented then, and our position is the same now, that there is a responsibility on the organisers to ensure that no one who does not have the authority gets on the stage and makes any remarks around anything. So there has to be some recompense around that. And I think people are clutching at straws, and as I said already, splitting hairs around whether this was an act or not. The fact of the matter remains is that the act of sectarian chants took place at this event, and that's what we as a council asked to have investigated, and the report has come back. And I would also, Chair, make the point that the proposal that's before us right now is just ignoring a lengthy discussion which took place at the committee. And I think it's counterproductive to this meeting. We've already had the discussion. We've already had two investigations by this council. People are talking about the length of time it's been since this group has been had received a letter of offer. The acts have taken place and they haven't received the funding yet.
Councillor Tierney, I would totally agree with you.
All they're doing,
please.
I will now, Mayor. All they're doing is holding this up and ensuring that this council heading into Christmas is continuing with a green and orange argument that took place in Castledare over the summer. It should have been put to bed. We should be moving on. And by having this proposal in front of us, all we're doing is delaying the process. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tierney. Okay, members, there's two further speakers that are going to then take the proposal on the table to a vote. Councillor Ferguson.
Thank you, Mayor. And I was a part of the discussion on the evening, and I did welcome the fact that the officers had done a second investigation, a more in-depth investigation. I was happy to go with the officers' recommendations because they had clarified that it wasn't a paid act. I know other members are talking about this at the moment, but I think because it's good relations, there had to be some sort of consequence or reaction to it, which is what the officers did tell us, that there would be risk assessments, and I know that there was a conversation of risk assessments already done, but that there would be a letter of warning, an issue of a warning, basically, if this was to happen again, that there would be no more council funding. And this was an incident in the summer, but I'd said before, there has been previous events done by this group that have been very cross community. So I think we're really trying to kind of get into the realms of this green and orange debate and cause friction, where actually if we just go with the officer's recommendation and try and move forward and be progressive, then we could create a better better events in the future. I think this is just pulling teeth at the moment between the two. So I'm happy to go with the officer's recommendation. So we're happy to support the proposal that's currently on, because it was also through the legal advice that, you know, it would be very hard for us to withhold funding for someone who did something awful but wasn't actually a paid act on the night. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Ferguson. Councillor Kerrigan, before you bring you on, it's just more or less on the chat box, still seeking clarification on the funding in regards to both the good relations money or the alternative bonfire funding. Karen, could you answer that before I bring the Chief Executive on to take a vote?
Chair, without having the detail of the PCSP breakdown, in terms of the elements that it would fund, if it's towards this event, our officers have interpreted it that it is the entire funding, is my understanding.
Thank you for that, Karen. Happy enough, Councillor Kerrigan. Okay, John, could you come on, please, and take a vote on the proposal on the table?
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Alderman Breslin.
For.
Alderman Devaney.
For.
Alderman Guy.
For.
Alderman Hussey.
For.
Alderman Carrigan.
For.
Alderman McClintock.
For.
Alderman McCready. Alderman Ramsey.
For.
Alderman Wark.
For.
Councillor Jason Barr.
Against.
Councillor Raymond Barr.
Against.
Councillor John Boyle.
Against.
Councillor Michaela Boyle.
Against.
Councillor Carr.
Against.
Councillor Cusick.
Against.
Councillor Dobbins.
Against.
Councillor Donnelly.
Abstain.
Councillor Doyle. Councillor Doyle. Councillor Duffy.
Against.
Councillor Edwards.
Against, John.
Councillor Farrell.
Against.
Councillor Ferguson.
For.
Councillor Fleming. Councillor Fleming. Councillor Gallagher.
Abstain.
Councillor Harkin.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Heaney.
Sorry, against.
Councillor Heaney.
Against, John.
Councillor Jackson.
Against, John.
Councillor Kelly.
Against, John.
Councillor Logue. Councillor Logue, just say again, please.
Against, John.
Thank you. Councillor McGinley.
Against, John.
Councillor McGowan.
Against, John.
Councillor McHugh.
Against.
Councillor McKinney. Councillor McKinney.
John. For.
Councillor Mooney.
Against.
Councillor O'Neill.
Against.
Councillor Riley.
Against.
Councillor Sinoy Barr.
Against.
Councillor Tierney.
Against.
Thank you, members. Mayor, I've recorded 23 against and 11 for, so the proposal falls.
Okay, thank you for that, John. Members, seeing no further on Health and Communities Committee, so we're going to move on to open for information.
Chair.
So,
Was that matters arising? I indicated there
where are you on the box?
in the chat box, Chair.
2 seconds.
It was
Okay.
HC 27/21.
279. Go ahead there, Councillor Donnelly. I see 2 members on this.
Chair, it's regards the proposal, HC 279/21. Chair, I would like to make an amendment at the end of it. I'll put it in the chat box now. Chair, this council has a proud record of protecting animals. We have a good ethical position. We were the first council in the 6 counties that had banned circuses that use performing animals. You know, this behaviour or this activity is cruel and it's not acceptable. So, Chair, I given the recent what happened in Stormont, I would like to propose that at the end of Councillor Ferguson's proposal, that Council also notes with alarm the recent failure of the Stormont administration to protect wild animals persecuted for sport and sadistic enjoyment by humans. And this Council would like to place on record our strong opposition to such activities. Chair, what I'm talking about there is the issue of, and it's not pest control, hunting foxes with dozens of dogs and men on horses, which leads to the animals being ripped apart. It's not pest control. So I think we need to be consistent here and send a strong message that such activities are wrong. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Donnelly, I am just going to bring a city solicitor here on this.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Whilst noting that the motion or the proposed amendment to the motion is on the same broad topic of animal welfare, the report that was brought to the committee was really on the work of the council within animal welfare department. This probably falls outside the scope of that and would be best to ensure that it's fully debated and all members have an opportunity of considering the position. It would be best brought forward as a separate motion to the January council.
Thank you for that, Philip. I'm happy enough with that. Councillor Donnelly, if you could bring that forward to the January. Happy enough to take that on as a motion.
Chair, the same item but different order.
Chair, just could you allow some Councillor Gallagher?
No,
Under
on there's a list. There's a list here, Councillor Gallagher, Alderman Hussey.
Thank you, Chair, or Mayor, sorry. It's just within the presentation by Councillor Ferguson, which was excellent and very welcome. She did say in the first paragraph, the animal welfare officer in this council area also has responsibility for Mid Ulster and Omagh and Fermanagh council areas. Could I have some clarification on that as to the animal welfare officer in this council area? There was a recently reading a very distressing case of a young terrier found dead in a house, and towards the end the advice was for anyone in the Derry City and Strabane District Council area with animal welfare concerns to call an Omagh number or to email animalwelfare@fermanaghomagh.com. So in fact, we don't have an animal welfare officer in our council area, but we have an animal welfare officer in the Fermanagh Omagh area who covers Derry City and Strabane. Is that correct?
All right, thank you, Alderman Hussey. I'll bring on Karen just to confirm.
Mayor, just to confirm, the animal welfare service is contracted and funded by DERA, provided on a regional basis, and Fermanagh Omagh District Council are the lead partner in the delivery of that service, which includes for our council area. So the officers are employed directly by Fermanagh Omagh Council, and that is the administrative base for the rollout of that service.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Karen, for that. I think it's very disappointing that we haven't got our own animal welfare officer, but that's the circumstances, and I just thought it was clarity was needed on it. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Councillor Gallagher.
Thank you, Mayor, for letting us in. Just with regards the proposal that was on the floor there by Councillor Donnelly and the legal opinion.
Yeah, it's coming back as hopefully a motion in January.
Just how relevant it is to this council is very relevant, and that if we check with our welfare department,
our animal welfare department, you will find that on many occasions that because of the activities of these boys on horses with dogs, they've
Councillor Gallagher.
just bear with us once.
No. No, let Councillor Gallagher. Members, obviously we can discuss this in January. If Councillor Donnelly brings this free a motion, I'm going to move on now. I'm happy enough to take it as a motion, yes. Everything put forward as a motion by any members, very important to them and everybody else in the committee. But I feel that the other parties need time to obviously think and discuss this, and we can have a proper discussion in January's meeting. So what I'm going to do now, members, is move on. Thank you.
Just looks like the parties in Stormont is
Okay, members, moving on to open information on agendas 9 and 10. It's response to motions and sealing list for December 2021. Okay, members, before we move to confidential,
Sorry, Mayor, I indicated there for response to motions.
sorry, go ahead, Councillor Duffy.
No, I just wanted to comment on the response to the Micah motion from the Minister O'Brien. I just want to put on record my disappointment that he has declined to meet with us as a council area. I know I've been in regular contact with the Micah Action Group and members of it, and as a party we will continue to meet with them and support them through their campaign. But I just think that it needs to be said as a council area that we are highly disappointed that he has refused to meet with us. And I'm also put on record our disappointment at the sliding scale of redress that has been proposed. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for that, Councillor Duffy. Okay, members, I think I see further more speakers in this before we move on to confidential. I'll just make it public. Obviously, I think all you agree. We have to thank all the people in the background, and I want to thank all the members tonight. Obviously, an email went out on behalf of myself for no motions at tonight's meeting, and it's obviously for the background staff, and there's quite a few of them. As you realise now, sitting in this seat, there's quite a few out there. But we really do, on behalf of myself and all the members, thank all the support we get from the Guildhall staff, the IT staff, the media staff here, and the officers all online. Thank you so much, and we really do wish you a happy Christmas. So, are you ready to move to confidential?
So proposed, Mayor, that we move on to confidential.
Thank you. And second.
I'll second it.